What involvement does he want to have in the Iran situation?
Vladimir Putin finds Donald Trump's decision to extend the ceasefire in Iran to be.
As casualties mount in Iran, Trump is now trying to play peacemaker on Ukraine, raising questions over whether he can juggle two wars at once. In a 90-minute call, Trump and Putin haggle over how long guns should stay silent in both Iran and Ukraine. Putin signals support as Trump presses to extend the fragile ceasefire with Iran, hoping to buy time and calm the Gulf. Behind the secure line, Trump and Putin juggle an uneasy lull in Iran with talk of a possible truce on the Ukrainian front. From the Persian Gulf to the Donbass trenches, one Trump or Putin call links the Iran crisis directly to the future of the Ukraine war. Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump held a phone call, according to a Kremlin aide, in which the two leaders tried to navigate multiple crises at once. The call, which lasted for more than 90 minutes, was described by longtime presidential aide Yuri Ushakov as frank and businesslike, suggesting both candor and a clear focus on hard security issues. Officials say the leaders concentrated heavily on rising tensions in the Middle East, particularly over Iran, during their conversation on April 29th.
I talked about Ukraine, and I talked a little bit about Iran. I talked about a few different subjects, mostly about Ukraine, and we had a very good conversation. I think we're going to come up with a solution relatively quickly, I hope.
What does he want
I
to do?
think you'd like to see a solution, I can tell you, and that's good.
What involvement does he want to have in the Iran situation?
He told me he'd like to be involved with the enrichment if he can help us get it. I said I'd much rather have you be involved with ending the war with Ukraine.
Putin welcomed Trump's decision to extend the ceasefire with Iran, calling it a constructive step that could give negotiations a chance and lower the immediate risk of escalation. Yuri Ushakov said, and I quote, "The president's paid particular attention to the situation regarding Iran and in the Persian Gulf." Vladimir Putin considers Donald Trump's decision to extend the ceasefire with Iran to be the right one, as this should give negotiations a chance and, overall, help to stabilize the situation. Putin highlighted the inevitable and extremely damaging consequences not only for Iran and its neighbors but also for the entire international community, should the US and Israel resort to military action once again. Russia is firmly committed to providing every possible assistance to diplomatic efforts on the Middle East war, unquote. Putin cautioned that any renewed US or Israeli strikes on Iran would trigger severe consequences and risk blowing up the fragile calm in the region. He stressed that fresh military action would not just hit Iran, but could undermine global security, energy markets, and wider international stability. Moscow, he said, remains committed to backing diplomatic efforts, insisting that only talks, not bombs, can pull the Middle East back from the brink. The call then shifted to Ukraine, where the war has now dragged into its fifth year since Russia's 2022 invasion. At Trump's request, Putin outlined the battlefield situation, claiming Russian troops still hold the strategic initiative and are pushing Ukrainian forces back. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said both leaders voiced strikingly similar views of President Zelensky and Ukraine's leadership, accusing them of prolonging the conflict. The war, however, has left vast destruction across Ukraine and killed thousands of civilians, with no clear end in sight. During the call, Putin floated a temporary ceasefire to coincide with Victory Day celebrations marking the defeat of Nazi Germany. Trump backed the proposal, saying a pause in fighting on that day would honor the memory of wartime sacrifice on both sides.
Donald Trump spoke positively about the Easter ceasefire recently announced by Russia. Regarding that, Vladimir Putin informed his U.S. counterpart that he is ready to declare ceasefire during the Victory Day celebrations. Trump actively supported the initiative, noting that the holiday marks our shared victory over Nazism in World War II. Trump stressed the importance of ceasing hostilities in Ukraine as soon as possible and that he is willing to do everything possible on his part to help achieve that. His close aide will continue contact with both Moscow and Kiev. Donald Trump believes a deal that would end the conflict in Ukraine is now close. At Trump's request, Vladimir Putin described the current situation along the line of contact, where Russian forces, holding the strategic initiative, are pushing back the enemy's positions. He also mentioned that since the start of 2025, Russia has handed over more than 20,000 bodies of those killed to Ukraine, while Ukraine has returned just over 500 to us. Both Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump expressed broadly similar assessments of the actions by the Kiev authorities led by Zelensky, who they said, encouraged by Europeans and with their support, pursue prolonging the conflict. The Russian leader said straight that Kiev was resorting to openly terrorist methods, attacking purely civilian facilities on Russian territory. The president again reaffirmed that the goals of the special military operation would be achieved in any case. Of course, this would preferably come as a result of a negotiating process. For that, Zelensky would need to respond positively to the well-known proposals that have been set out repeatedly, including by the U.S. side. The president's focus on the situation around Iran and in the Persian Gulf. Vladimir Putin finds Donald Trump's decision to extend the ceasefire in Iran to be right. It should give negotiations a chance and help stabilize the situation. Russia is firmly determined to provide comprehensive assistance to diplomatic efforts in search of peaceful solution of the crisis, and proposed several ideas aimed at settlement of disagreements around Iran's nuclear program.
Meanwhile, Russia is planning a scaled-down Victory Day parade in Moscow this year, officially citing security concerns linked to the ongoing war.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.